Tonight's main news then. America's eastern seaboard is braced for the arrival of the biggest hurricane in recent history. This is where Hurricane Sandy is now, approximately 175 miles southeast of New York City. It's due to make landfall in southern New Jersey just after 8 this evening, with winds of up to 90 miles per hour. Then over the next few days, Sandy cuts a path up the eastern seaboard, bringing high winds, rain and extreme weather to an area 450 miles beyond the eye of the storm. Well, our Washington correspondent Matt Frie has spent the day travelling into New York. This is his story of his entry to the city.
Well, you saw it yourself. Hurricane Take Shelter. This is the New Jersey Turnpike. It should be one of the busiest motorways in the eastern side of America, and it's virtually deserted, especially heading into Manhattan, which is what we're doing at the moment. We're about 20 miles or so from the city, and at this time of day, this place should be absolutely packed with traffic, and it isn't, for a very good reason. Because in the last half an hour, we've really felt the impact of these wind gusts, which are getting stronger and stronger. And although this is a heavy car weighed down with lots of equipment, we've really been moved around by the gusts. And the worst is still to come. So as you can see, one of the main tunnels into New York is already closed. And to my left here, I'm not sure if you can make it out, is one of the busiest airports in America, New York Airport in New Jersey. That's the runway over there. Nothing landing today, probably nothing landing tomorrow. And also, not a single plane inside. They must have moved all the planes away from the airport before the hurricane approached. That's quite a dramatic sight. And just a reminder that we are on the New Jersey Turnpike. I've driven down this road countless times. It is always, at any time of day, any time of year, bumper to bumper congested. Now look at it. So we're now heading to the Lincoln Tunnel, which is one of the few tunnels still open into Manhattan. And with tunnels and bridges being closed every hour, as the eye of the storm approaches, you really get the feeling that Manhattan has been reminded again of its status as an island. So there it is, the skyline of Manhattan, cloaked in grey by Sandy. Why do the worst hurricanes always have the most innocuous names? Huh? Figure that one out.
And Matt joins us now live from New York's Battery Park. Looks a little wet, Matt.
Yeah, it's really wet. I mean, it's, to be honest, at the moment, not much wetter than your average Sunday in April in the UK, but this is going to get a lot worse in the next few hours. The water behind me, Krish, and by the way, I don't know if you can see the Statue of Liberty further behind me still, that water there is already pretty high. They're expecting the storm surge to be 12 feet high by the end of tomorrow morning. So if I was talking to you in 24 hours from now from this very spot, well, I wouldn't be, because I'd be underwater. And the last time they had this kind of storm surge in lower Manhattan was in 1960 during Hurricane Donna, and that really flooded this place quite severely. So they're expecting the same thing again. That's why the mayor earlier today forcibly evacuated this part of the city. Ward Street is just about, less than half a mile from here. That's shut down today, of course. It'll be shut down tomorrow. Schools are shut down today. They'll be shut down tomorrow. There's no traffic on the water, on the Hudson River behind me. Normally this would be absolutely teeming, not just with people, but also with boats and ferries and pleasure boats. Well, it now looks like a rather rough bit of the North Sea.
We're a week from the election. As this goes on, what's the impact going to be?
I know it's a cliche, the perfect storm, but this really is a perfect storm. Because first of all, meteorologically speaking, you have a hurricane wrapped inside an Arctic storm that's come down from Canada, with another storm joining it, so that's 3 storms wrapped into one. You've also got a full moon, which means that the high tide is going to be even higher than it would have been otherwise. And then, of course, we're only a week away from the election. I've never covered a story like this. I'd never imagined that I'd be doing a weather story 8 days before polling's close in one of the tightest American elections. The effect this event is going to have is that in this very tight race, where the tiniest thing can make a difference, one side is saying that Barack Obama who's been on television talking emergency, sounding very much like the commander-in-chief, will be even more effective, and that this is going to be very impressive to people watching at home, if they have any power to watch television with. On the other hand, if he puts one foot wrong in this crisis, as President Bush did during Hurricane Katrina in 2005, it's going to be really bad for him in the polls. So we really don't know, in terms of the image of the candidates, what effect this will have. And then, of course, Christian, and I think we talked about it yesterday briefly, there is the turnout. Now, if this continues, and it is a very broad storm that's going to basically wash away parts of the eastern seaboard for a few days, if the power is out in millions of households, and remember, there are more people living in this part of America, 60 million, than virtually in the whole of the United Kingdom, then of course that means that people won't be able to get to the polling stations next week. Early voting, which is so important for the Democrats especially, has been washed away in these key swing states like Virginia and Ohio, parts of Ohio, and Pennsylvania, which I've just been driving through. So this really is a pretty dramatic turn of events for both candidates, but first and foremost for the people actually living here.
Thanks, Matt.